Hey everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Annika and I'm your host today. I'm joined by Colby Clites today. Hey Colby, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. It's like a really cool Wednesday. It's like sunny outside here in Toronto. Where are you joining us from?
Nice. So I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado. So it's actually kind of cooler weather, whereas in the past I've tuned in from Florida. So it's a
Mhm.
nice little change of pace for me.
I'm really excited to welcome everyone in chat. We have a worldwide community here, both on Behance and YouTube. So if you're watching us live, say hello in chat. We have Colby with us today, creating some poster illustration designs, and I'm really excited because I've always been fan of Colby's work, all the beverage label designs and all the illustrations. So what are we working on today? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Colby, and let's dive straight into it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. That means a lot. Because honestly, I'm a huge fan of your work. And I feel like some of our styles overlap. So I think this is gonna be a good
Hmm.
fit and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a little bit about myself. Colby Clites, like I said, from Colorado. I have a background with like beverage packaging, and I've worked at a couple of nonprofits, but now I work for a restaurant group called Chiba Hut Toasted Subs. So we make some awesome sandwiches, and we're at 55 shops around the US. So yeah, a little bit just kind of looking at portfolio and projects. So you can see a lot of just kind of rendered beer cans, and
Hmm.
that's where I got a lot of practice kind of with illustration. Because if you've seen some of my videos in the past, you might know I was more of a UI UX kind of guy. But now it's way more fun to be able to draw cool stuff and branding and packaging. And I don't know, this is just a really fun realm to go down. And so yeah, that's what I've been doing a lot lately.
I love that. I love that you have like a mix of everything. So I guess we can learn a lot from the like from you in the next 1.5 hours. I see the chat
Yeah.
really popping already. I want to say hi to Robert, Jack, Rick, Carol, General Kenobi, Carol. Wait, I said that again.
Mhm.
Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. And if you have any questions for Colby along the way while we go through the process and all of this fun stuff, let us know in the chat, and I'll read your questions to him.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it's cool to see a
Yeah.
bunch of names of people that I've known for like years now in the Adobe community,
Mhm.
which is super cool. Jack, Carroll, General Kenobi, those are classics in here.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Yeah, I figured let's close this and kind of dive into Illustrator if that's cool.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Sweet. Yeah. So actually, even before I dive into Illustrator, I kind of want to talk about my process.
Hmm.
And really, so what we're going to be working on today is a poster design. We're going to be using a bunch of different apps because, to be honest, that's kind of how I work with a lot of these programs. I like to bounce between them and kind of use the right tool for the right task.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to start out just kind of showing some of the like sketches that I'll do, and then showing you how I sketch within Adobe Fresco. And then from there, we'll bring it into Illustrator and show kind of just the vector process, kind of
Yeah.
play around with some of these newer tools, bring it into Photoshop, and kind of show how to lay out the file for Adobe Aero. And we can add that QR code back into the design. So kind of that's the overall game plan for the stream today.
I love that. I am really excited by all of those parts of the process because I was listening to this podcast today. And
Mhm.
they were like, share your process, show all the work in progress. I'm really excited. Let's jump into the sketches and see how this
Let's
looks.
do it.
Yeah.
So actually, even before I do that, let me kind of get us on an artboard. So one of the stuff I'd like to kind of dive into here for the beginning and end of the stream is actually like how I set up my file to begin with, and also how I
Mhm.
export it at the end, because I feel like that's a process that sometimes we don't always get into on these streams.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just starting out new file. So this is going to be print. I'm just gonna do Colby. Let's call it a stellar sub. And in here, I'm gonna want to bring it into inches. So today we're gonna be working in 11 by 17 kind of artboard because that's gonna be
Hmm.
the print kind of size that we're aiming for. Other stuff to think about in here is the color mode. I'm gonna want to bring that down to CMYK because I'm getting it for print ready. Where
Yep.
RGB is more kind of on web. And let's also bring the roster up to 300.
Mhm.
And we'll add a little bit of bleed because why not?
Yeah. Always love some bleed.
Right. So
I
yeah, it's
think like,
always
yeah, it's
sorry.
always like a good practice. Now go ahead. Yeah.
It is. And it's like, if not like, I don't know. What I've learned is if I try to fit all the art in the artboard, sometimes I
Hmm.
export it and you have like little gaps on the edges. So
Yep.
I've done that too many times at different places I've worked to learn, okay, always just overlap those edges. Give
Hmm.
yourself plenty of space and real estate to expand the artwork, before it's kind of too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah. Yeah, I've felt that before, especially when I do stuff for Instagram and I make them in Illustrator, which is counterintuitive, but I've done that. And then you see this
Yes.
white strip on the end. It's like hashtag relatable. I feel you.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So one thing I also want to show in here is kind of how I lay out my files when I'm
Hmm.
working with kind of just some heavier stuff like this.
Yeah.
So I'll usually have a parent folder for the entire project. And what I like to do is have an underscore assets folder, and then I'll have kind of like my working files. And then
Yeah.
eventually I'll have like a print file or a mock-up depending on like what the project kind of needs. So yeah, in here, just kind of what I'll also do is I'll really layer these like ridiculously. So I have like V1 working file is kind of what I'm gonna save this over right now. But once we kind of get into certain points, I always do a V2, V3. Anytime I do like revisions or I'm sharing it, I just duplicate the file and just change it to V1, V2, just to, I don't know, just have that safety net. Because I've had to just try to
Yeah.
rewind and go back and get that process work before. And yeah, and if not, it can be, yeah, you'll regret it.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's a great practice. I think I do that with like cloud files where I just like create
mhm.
version histories and bookmark those versions just so that I can go back. And I see that this is not a cloud file for you. So that's like a great alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, it kind of is because I'm usually saved within like Dropbox or Google Drive. And
Hmm.
I'll use like, we'll dive into the libraries a bit too, but I usually use them as kind of like, I guess a good example is when I was working in the beer world, each
Hmm.
kind of beer brand I had its own like Creative Cloud folder for. So I'd have mockups, labels, illustrations, and I'll just kind of group them by like almost sub brands
Yeah.
within there. So I have all these assets available. So some of the stuff over here, I'm going to bring in kind of these sketches that I had ahead of time. Actually, that's not the one I'm looking for. Let me bring this in really fast.
Let's do it.
Apologies.
It's all good. This is how we know it's live.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Actually,
Megan and Nick in chat also saying hello while we find the sketches. We have Wade. Everyone's really excited to see the process. So I'm here for it.
well, I appreciate you all. It's fun to to hear that as well. Because honestly, the process, what you're gonna realize here, it's a messy
Hmm.
process. It gets rough, and eventually it does come together. And I just have to
Yeah.
always remind myself of that because it's like if you try to just, I don't know, sometimes it's gonna be overwhelming when you think like, oh, what is I have to make this poster. But honestly, just little by little and just taking chunks out of it is kind of the move.
Hmm.
So sketches. So I'm going to show you a video in Fresco next, but just kind of showing you this process, ideal process. Sketching first, kind of bring it to Fresco where I'll do like rough sketches still. Then a
Yeah.
lot of times I still go on the line where I take it too far in Adobe Fresco, where sometimes I'll add too much color, draw way too much, and then I realize I have to reel it back in and just bring that sketch into Illustrator and kind of build it there. So
Yeah.
depending on the project, I end up doing, I don't know, that part of the process ends up going back and forth a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not very clear for me either.
I think I totally understand that because I've done that before where I'm like adding like pixel brushes and then I'm like, maybe I don't need to add this much detail. I just want the black and
Yes.
white version. It's like logo design when it comes like naturally to you, and then I compare it
Mm-hmm.
with illustration. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should just make this in black and white and then add color instead of just going in with color, you know?
No, 100%. I think yeah, sometimes it's about keeping it
Yeah.
simple so you can
Yeah.
add those layers on as you go.
Yeah.
Versus, yeah, sometimes I'll go too crazy in the iPad and then yeah, I don't know. It just it's fun, but it can be a lot.
Yep.
So sketches. Just kind of showing you a little bit over here.
Hmm.
These are actually from like a giant notepad sketch.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I have those on the side, but you can't really see those very well. So
Hmm.
looking here, it's originally my thought process was to do a UFO. And
Okay.
so part of the reason is because we are kind of doing themes for this place I'm working at now. And like the theme for Chiba Hut for the first quarter of next year is going to be all this alien galaxy, like outer space vibe.
Mm.
So I figured why not tie that in here and try to do a UFO that's like beaming up a sub. Maybe if we're feeling crazy, we do some lettering that's like stellar subs. And they can
Okay.
be used for a poster, it can be used as a sticker. We could
Hmm.
bring these elements into augmented reality and kind of have them move around slightly. And I don't know. So that's kind of like the ultimate vision here.
I love
And
that.
thanks. And it sounds easier said than done. So on the video I'm going to show you in just a second, it's kind of with this direction where I went with a flat UFO, like a 2D with like a flat sandwich.
Hmm.
And then I realized it wasn't really working. You know, it's like this angle of this UFO wasn't right. The perspective's off. So
Yeah.
then I really had to start kind of going and sketching like, okay, what if I tilt the UFO? What if I tilt the sandwich? What if I tilt the UFO and not the sandwich? And
Hmm.
just like taking the same concept and doing slight variations of that is kind of what I was playing with here.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, a thing to note is the logo for Chiba Hut is an actual like hut with little palm trees. So
Oh,
that's where you kind
sweet.
of yeah. So I was trying to incorporate that into the UFO. So it's like a version of their logo with like the UFO beaming up the sub. So it kind of ties into the branding as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think using visual elements kind of like makes it more recognizable as well. So people who actually like the subs can actually just look at it and say, hey, that I actually like that shop. Let's
Yeah,
go get some
and it's
stellar subs.
oh
Yeah.
thanks yeah no 100%, and it's like it just makes it that much more unique because
Yeah.
one of the things we're also going to look at in here is the text to vector, which is a super
Hmm.
cool feature, but you know, the benefit I think of drawing your own custom, you know, illustration UFO compared to like the ones they generate. So it'll be fun
Oh,
to see those side by
absolutely.
side as well too.
Yeah, let's get into the fresco
Let's
process.
do it.
Yeah.
So here we have the kind of video I exported. It's time lapse video.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'll go and show you this process. So that's kind of sketch we're at. So this is where I was talking about first, where it's kind of the flat illustration of the UFO with the sub. And I was really start out. It's kind of learned this from an illustrator who does a lot of badges called Trey Ingram, and
Hmm.
he'll do really like light like blue kind of like pencil sketches first, and then
Yeah.
you'll see his like beautiful illustration. So I, I don't know why it's blue, but I started to just kind of do that, and it kind of helps. So using
Yeah.
those blue brushes and kind of just doing those rough sketches, and then kind of in this process here using like black brush and almost like inking. Oh, hit my mic, and kind of like inking it in a way. So it's like these are like the lines that I would kind of then use with an illustrator.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, and then here I'm starting to play with kind of tagline. I was originally using Interstellar subs, which
Mm,
kind of sounded cool, but
yeah.
the amount of letters for like the Interstellar is giant compared to subs is like 4 letters.
Yep.
Yep. And then I realized, oh, it doesn't even need to say inter. It can just say stellar subs, and that'll fit way stronger as a lockup.
Yep.
So it's kind of see me go back and forth between there. So in here is where I was talking about in Fresco, where I started taking it too far. Started adding color, started adding a ton of random details, and I was just
Yeah.
mostly on the weekend kind of bored sketching and just kind of using it as like an opportunity to think through what I'm gonna do.
I guess like the calming process of like you drawing those small lines and details kind of gave you more
Mhm.
perspective of what you actually wanted to do. Oh, that sub really came in handy
Oh, thank
here.
you. Yeah, so which is convenient. This is a sub I actually drew a week prior for like a
Okay.
different
Yeah.
thing, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can just use this sub in here. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where this one, yeah, kind of came from all of a sudden.
Hmm.
Some of the things I'm starting to do within Fresco, though, it's maybe hard to see on some of the screens, but it's kind of like the way I'm doing line work. I'm like the orange and yellow bottom of the UFO. I'm starting to
Yep.
use kind of like hatching in there with the colors. So it's like bringing in some like highlight and like shadow colors on some of these as well.
Hmm.
So you'll
Yeah.
see some of that within like in some of my other illustrations too. I'm starting to use it's like this one brush, to be honest, within Fresco that I really like. So I just kind of keep going back to that one.
Oh, what
Um,
brush is it? Do you remember off the top of your head?
it was like a modified version of
Like a crosshatch. It's okay if you don't
yeah,
have to
okay. I
look
was
for
about to
it
like
right
open
now.
up right
Yeah,
here.
no, it's all good.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, it's the velocity taper is kind of the name of
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
And then it was a stream on here I was watching a while back where someone was going over
Hmm.
brush settings.
Hmm.
And then I was like, oh wow, that's exactly what I needed to do. And so
Yeah.
it's one that I've been tweaking with over time as well.
Love to hear Adobe Live stories.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been watching it
Yeah.
since like at least 2018. One of my first streams I watched was Chris Bernay, which I might
Hmm.
be mispronouncing that, but he did this whole soda packaging one,
I've
which has
seen
been a
that
huge
one.
inspiration for like my beverage packaging for like years afterwards since then.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to look back and I don't know, reflect on that as well because that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's also fun to see how far your process has come from 5 years ago, and now
Mhm.
you look at something and you're like, oh, just like cringe at your own work from five
uh,
years ago.
100%. I mean, I still cringe at everything I make, to be honest. It's just like sometimes I just have to be like, okay, I just have to send it and do it. Okay, so
Yeah.
here is where I jump over to the newer sketches where I
Mhm.
realize, okay, that other illustration wasn't working. Let me make this one work. And so this part of the video is much quicker and much more simplified, but this is going to be the actual kind of sketch we're going to be working on within Illustrator.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just felt like angling the UFO, angling the sub and stuff gave it like some more like dynamic kind of feel within the poster.
Hmm.
Adding like the word marks, the lettering, I felt like could be kind of fun. I like how Stellar came out. Subs, I'm not crazy about yet. So I think what we'll do is at some point we'll kind of clean up the Stellar word mark and maybe look at like a typeface for subs or
Yeah.
kind of refine that as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of where we were at within Fresco, and that's kind of video time lapse.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the stellar kind of reminds you of the touch type tool where you just like shift the A
Mhm.
and the L's a little bit. And maybe we can find like a font which is like something similar, like a
Yeah.
bubbly font, which is like so trendy last year. And then you could just like use the touch type tool to like make those shapes.
That sounds great to me. Because to be honest, like it kind of gives me like a Cooper Black kind of feel
It
with like these
does.
kind of bubble letters and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's the one that I was kind of thinking of. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think it'd be fun to dive into that.
Yeah. I
So one
think,
thing I'm
go
oh
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
you please.
I was thinking like Ono Typeco actually has some of those bubbly fonts.
Hmm.
In that foundry I really like. And so yeah. Michelle in the chat is saying, great to see how you develop your concept. And Kristen, welcome, welcome. Carol saying deja vu, the good old non-repro blue. Love to hear it. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. No, that's exciting. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah. So I'm gonna go and just kind of bring in some of these sketches over here. So if you notice, what I have over here is my Adobe library.
Mm-hmm.
And if I back out this for a second, I have like a ton of these libraries built. And honestly, I swear by these things. These things are awesome. Like, especially if you're gonna collaborate with anyone, if you're gonna have to ever share any projects, just build out a library, add them to it. And even just for the speediness of just be able to bring in assets. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. This is stuff I did in advance, kind of with Fresco. So this is kind of JPEG version of the sketch.
Yeah.
And then this one I have right here is actually kind of PDF version.
Yep.
So that way I can get the lettering. You can see there's some weird things happening with the layers. So I'll kind of show you how I deal with that process as well, from bringing it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to just kind of bring this in and kind of line it up on the artboard.
Did you make that PDF export from Fresco, or was that done in Illustrator and then you exported that?
No, I brought it in from Fresco directly. And then
Okay.
it's like an export as a PDF file. And then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
brought it into Illustrator.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And so some things I do notice is like within Fresco. So now I at least have like individual layers on a lot of these that you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah.
Which that was just Command Y, switch into wireframe mode. And but in here, some things that happen is you'll have the actual almost like mask or
Mm-hmm.
group around it.
Yeah.
So within Fresco, whenever I get these in, I also like just kind of triple click a bunch of times, get down there, and actually just delete that.
Yeah.
So then now I just have like this word by myself.
Yeah.
And with that, you can kind of see the brush strokes and everything. But yeah, I'm just gonna do that real quick.
That makes
Cool.
sense. Almost like it makes a frame around it to keep it
Exactly.
separate on different layers when
Yep.
exporting. Yeah.
But it's good to kind of like go ahead and get rid of that frame, because if you're ever
Mm-hmm.
trying to like use Pathfinder to subtract it or something,
Yeah.
or there's a
Yeah.
lot of random issues you
Yeah.
might run into if you don't have the actual kind of expanded kind of shape.
Yeah, I can imagine. Are we
Yeah.
gonna use the Pathfinder to like unionize it or
Oh
whatever?
yeah. So
Okay, that's
especially
good.
when you see all these here, it's
Mhm.
like starting to get all these wonky shapes in here and they're a little
Yeah.
weird. It's because it's literally the brush and the vector brush in Fresco, and it's just kind of
Mhm.
like going over it layer by layer. So yeah, Pathfinder here, or if you go to Window Pathfinder.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. And honestly, just you kind of uniting it. And so now it's like I can go wireframe mode again. You just see it's kind of a cleaner shape.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll go back over to the sketch and we'll come back to this word mark in a little bit. But I mostly just wanted to kind of just show that briefly while I was thinking about it. So yeah.
Yeah,
Boom.
absolutely. Here for the organic thought process.
Oh yeah. And it is messy. I'll warn you now.
Here for it. Everyone's here for it. I think
Oh,
this
well,
is
thanks.
like everyone works the same way, but sometimes we get afraid of like, oh, this is too messy for like showing it to an audience.
Oh,
But I feel like
definitely.
it's kind of like reassuring when everyone else just agrees that, oh, I literally just work the same way and my artboards are a mess. And I don't even work on artboards. I just press Command Shift H and just like make everything a big artboard.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that is kind of the move to go. And you just start realizing how people's processes are,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, some people will be very uniform and clean, or
Mhm.
sometimes they'll kind of make it more uniform and clean because they're showing the process.
Yeah. Fake it till you
But
make it, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I just didn't really want to do that this time. I was like, okay, let me just be kind of honest and show you guys how brutal it can be sometimes when you're actually getting in here and designing.
Yeah.
So one thing I did over here on the side, if you may not notice, kind of we have our layers panel. I
Mhm.
was bringing all these different like sketches and some of these different assets to this reference label layers, so that way I can work on this artwork layer. Some people will add a bunch of layers depending on what they want. Honestly, I'm pretty bad with my layers. I have usually like a template layer and like an artwork layer, and I just kind of work within those.
Yeah.
And I know it's yeah, so it's different. Photoshop, you really need your layers, but yeah, within Illustrator, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's I'm partial to Illustrator. I mean, don't tell
yeah,
Photoshop I said that. So yeah.
yeah, right. One thing I'm actually going to do here is bring this back over. I want to kind of like straighten out this UFO, because I think
Mhm.
it's going to make my life a little easier to work with it on like not an angled side for
Pro
me.
tip right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So boom. I'm also going to bring this transparency on both of these down a little bit, so they're not as like vibrant and bright.
Mhm.
Boom. Cool. So I think what we're going to do is just kind of take this piece by piece. I'm going to start with UFO. We'll kind of bring in the sandwich. We'll kind of play with the word mark and kind of just showing a lot of this, Illustrator process, since that's really kind of where I work the most.
Yeah,
And I'm
let's
going to
see it.
save it. Always just save it a million times. So honestly, out of
Save your
habit,
work.
yes. And sometimes I'll just use it as an opportunity to like think where, or
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm taking like a sip of my drink, it's like, okay, let me take a second and like look at this for a second
Yeah.
and like stop.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to kind of rotate this a little more. Boom. Cool. I'm going to bring this into just a different color. And so a lot of times, one thing I've learned is there's some people who are really great with color.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is my good friend Alejandra. She can create some of the most beautiful illustrations with like color palettes that you're like, wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Um, but that's one thing I do struggle with. And so I've learned, okay, let me just use quick colors, and then I can use Recolor artwork, Adobe Color. I can use now generative Recolor as
Yeah.
well, and actually go in and like clean these up.
Yeah.
So yeah, one that I'm gonna attempt to do this a couple different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna see which one is kind of the best bet. So one of
Let's.
them I'm working on right here is kind of getting these two shapes that are overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
And a fun little thing we can do is kind of use the blend tool. So what
Ooh.
this does is saying, okay, ooh, where'd it go? Let me go appearance.
Oh, it's
Actually,
probably
no,
on the
blend
other.
options.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is the window I want. So what this is basically saying, I'll just click OK for right now. What this is saying is everything from this shape to this shape,
Mm-hmm.
fill that and like create steps kind of leading from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to object, blend options, and we're going to change this from smooth color to specified steps. So make sure that preview is checked. So right
Yep.
now it still looks like it's smooth color because there's 150 kind of little shapes in between here, creating a gradient, creating the transition from big shape to little shape.
Yep.
So I think we honestly would only want like one or two or three or something.
Yeah.
So even with that, it's just a nice, like, I don't know, it makes a nice transition. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
start to
That
mess with it a little bit.
kind of reminds me of like Judson's illustrations a little bit with
Yeah.
that blend. Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, with that blend with like the colors going
Mm-hmm.
on with
Yeah.
especially
You
just the
say you're
bright
bad
ones.
at picking color. I don't think so, my friend.
Well, thank you. Honestly,
You
it's just like
instantly just
quick
pick the
ones.
right colors. Yeah. Kristen
Yeah.
in the chat agrees. Layers, what are those?
Yeah, good. Okay, well, thank you. Now I don't feel as bad. It's like I feel like I'm
Yeah.
gonna come up here and show you guys I don't use layers. Everyone's gonna be like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing? Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
just
they
let's
only
be
care
honest.
about yeah, we only care about naming the layers. We don't care about like
Mhm.
how many layers you're using. So you're good.
Definitely. Okay. One thing I have learned, which is kind of a tangent, but very
Mm-hmm.
important with my layers,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you have a template, just put it on top sometimes.
Yep.
Because when I was working with beer packaging, you have very intense dye lines. And
Yep.
there's little details sometimes that says this panel up, this one this way. And if you're working on top of that, sometimes you can miss those details. And you can have
Absolutely.
mistakes like I've had where I printed a lot of
Upside
packaging
down.
with a panel upside down,
Yeah.
and then we had to do a press release about it, and I was like, oh no, I that was embarrassing. That
Oh, that's so fun. I have done
yeah.
that too. Like the packaging, especially when you're first getting into it, you don't really like cannot always imagine how it's gonna print out and like with
Mhm.
you like folding it at the end, especially if it's like a box. It's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
disaster. Like, oh, in the test print, you realize it, and you're like, oh shit, that's not what I
Oh,
wanted.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because you'll get into like, yeah. And also, a big trick is just to print it and fold it and do it. Like, have these little prototypes of packaging yourself,
Hmm.
because then you'll learn so much about how different panels align to each other.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a more separate stream, I think. So what I've gone in here is I went and selected this one shape, so not all of them, and kind of just go up to the effect tools and go to warp and bring it up
Hmm.
this panel. So this is always fun to just kind of mess with, because then one warp on this is gonna make that transition from here to there, and it's gonna just kind of do some cool stuff. And so a
That's
lot of
actually pretty
times,
cool.
oh
Yeah.
thanks. And like with kind of these warp effects, and sometimes with blending modes and other things like that,
Hmm.
sometimes I don't know what the right answer is, so I'll have to just kind of go through and click on almost all of them and be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that one works, this one doesn't, and kind of just figuring that out.
Yeah.
But definitely I definitely recommend using these warp tools because once I kind of started using these, it definitely changed my workflow a ton. For the
Yeah.
longest time, I was using like the pin tool and
Hmm.
just kind of building like shapes like this or something.
Yeah.
And you can never get stuff perfect. And so just using like a shape and then warping that shape, kind of using Pathfinder, using align tools, and just building it precisely has been kind of my best practice so far.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I would also not go that route. So it's fascinating to see
Mhm.
your process.
Yeah, no,
Um,
thanks.
Carol in the chat agrees that like putting your layer on multiply as a template layer on top helps. Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. You can see much clearer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and if anyone in the chat too, if you guys have questions too, don't hesitate.
Yeah, let us
Uh,
know.
yeah, and so I'm just gonna just start kind of building this piece by piece for the most part.
Hmm.
Uh, always using the align tools. You'll never be able to align it by hand. That's just I've learned that too many times.
Yeah.
So also when I'm selecting these, if I hit caps lock and tap the bottom one, this one
Hmm.
gets like an extra highlight around it. And what this does is it's saying align this to this. So this is kind of like the anchor now.
Hmm.
um,
Make it like a
so
key
it
object.
yes, is that what it's actually called?
Hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah. See, a lot of these, and I just kind of make up my own words because I just use them every day, and I'm like,
Well,
okay,
it
yeah,
makes
this is like the
sense.
main, yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, align it to
Thanks.
the key object. Yeah.
Mhm. So I'm also just gonna kind of build the shape, kind of have it behind it, kind of still using some of these warps as well. Oh yeah, almost losing my AirPod on my ear, and just kind of glancing at this every once in a while too, which I may even just bring it beside it so I can actually kind of see it. And I'm gonna want to bring this warp down a little more. And once we kind of get these things kind of built, then we'll be able to do some of the fun stuff with texturing and bringing it in other programs. So
Hmm.
yeah, but you definitely have to kind of build it first.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny how the human brain kind of wait, can you still hear me?
yeah, I can hear
Okay, yeah, yeah.
you.
It's funny how the human brain can make like relations to like colors because you're talking about color earlier, and you just
Mhm.
use these warp effects. Now all I can think about is like making egg stickers, which are used by the warp effects, and I can just use the blend and make like I don't know sunny side up illustrations with like stickers, and
Oh,
that's all I can think about.
yeah, that'd be perfect. And you're making me hungry too. I gotta eat.
Yeah, it's like lunchtime. Sorry,
Yeah, I
Chad. I'm
know.
sorry.
I know. And for me, to be honest, I'm definitely more of a coffee person until
Yeah,
about like
coffee for
noon.
breakfast. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've gotten bad lately. I started switching to these like yerba mates,
Hmm.
and these have a
Oh,
ton of caffeine, which I didn't
yeah.
realize at first, which is why I probably like them. So yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone in the chat too, let me know if you guys have a preference. Like, what is your kind of go-to? Like, do you have a beverage that is like, I don't know, I can't, I like, I always have to be sipping on something when I'm working. So if there's something like your
Absolutely.
coffee, tea, I also started to dive into like the actual tea versions, the yerba mates.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, so hot tea. But a little fun
Nice.
one. This is one of the Hoodspa sister mugs. If you guys didn't know that,
Yep.
Helvetica in the streets, Cooper Black in the
Cooper Black in
sheets.
the sheets. Yeah.
I live by that.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite mugs. Yeah. So here we're just kind of stacking some of these illustrations. So one thing I
Hmm.
did right here was use the star tool. You can use the arrows up down to kind of tell how many points you want on it. So I kind of got the
Yep.
triangle that way.
Yep.
Boom. And if you notice the hut up here, it kind of has this like wavy rooftop to it. So one of the ways we're gonna do that is go up to effect, distort, transform, and let's go with pucker and bloat. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure this isn't it. We're going to go with I think it's zigzag. And
Ooh.
then we're going to smooth it. And then we're going to play with
Okay.
the size here to kind of get this weirder shape.
Hmm. Pretty
Ooh.
cool.
So there's definitely going to be a sweet spot here, but it's sometimes going to be a little trickier to actually find. So I think it's bringing the size down. So this is impacting how big these little wave kind of
Hmm.
shapes are.
Hmm.
So I don't want it to be very much. If we're looking at this, also, let's cancel that for a second. I want to bring this shape down a little more. Kind of have a
Yep.
little more of a flatter roof. Yeah. And let's do that again. We'll go to zigzag. Let's kind of make sure it's smooth. And then let's bring this down. Let's mess with how many ridges are on here.
Hmm.
I don't really love it at the moment.
I feel like experimentation can really help you find that balance between the number of ridges
Mm-hmm.
and the size.
Oh, 100%.
Ooh, that's funky.
Yeah. And one thing, honestly, I don't really know what the difference is between the relative and absolute.
Hmm.
Um, but it's always click those buttons and experiment, because like
Yeah.
sometimes they'll do stuff that is like very useful. If we can find that right spot. Let's go back to absolute. I think that we had better luck with that one.
Yeah. It does. I think absolute kind of does make exactly equal shapes. I think. I'm not.
Okay, is
I'm
that
not too sure.
okay?
It seems like
That
it.
makes
It
sense
seems
though.
like
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I just hate these little corners happening right now.
What
Oh
if
well,
you
we'll
just like
circle.
use the
Yeah.
direct selection tool and made those?
Oh, and bring them in.
Yeah.
Oh, or not. See, it's making these little
Oh.
weird antenna
Oh.
things.
Yeah. What if you like
Interesting.
did before that though? But that's like fascinating.
Yes, that's
But
a
I think I actually
good
like the grassy little roots.
right.
Like
It's kind of like alien like
yeah.
antennas or
Yeah.
something happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, so one thing I always do, excuse me, and it's definitely taking it from Draplin where vectors are
Hmm.
free. So
Hmm.
honestly, duplicate everything all the times, which is
Absolutely.
why I have so many versions of my files, because I
Mm.
like keeping all this process work.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let me bring this over here a little bit more so it's not overlapping on that sketch layer. So yeah, I'm gonna delete that effect we just did.
Hmm.
Let me, yeah, this has that. Let's get this shape to be a little better. Kind of maybe beveling, like curving in these edges just a little bit.
Hmm.
And now let's see if that will make the difference or not. So we go to effect, distort, and then we want to go to zigzag, which is, it took me forever to figure this out because like zigzag does not make me think of like the smooth, wavy
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
But if we notice, it still is doing these weird kind of corners on here.
Hmm.
So I think we will just Command Z a bunch of times and just go back to
Yep.
where we were.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting idea, though. That was a good theory. Like
Yeah. I
I don't know.
thought it
Sometimes
would
like
yeah, bring it in.
yeah, and honestly, sometimes little things like that will just be the game changer, and it'll just be like,
Hmm.
oh wow, that worked, perfect.
Yeah. To be honest, I actually did like the the curved inversion too with like the antennas there.
It's
I was
like
like, oh,
the
that
oh
could be
the
like a fun variation of the current design.
I am down. Let's do it one more time and kind of see if it'll work well. Ooh, that's
Ooh.
actually
Yeah, that's actually fun.
yeah. How did okay? It's like
That's
sometimes
like
things
two
just happen.
zigzags. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Let
Love that.
me.
Carol in the chat saying that would work for a pie crust too. Yeah, that's pretty
Oh, that
good.
would. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one. Even just like waves or yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah. If you ever want like an effect where like
Hmm.
I don't know, I'm gonna kind of do it right here really fast.
That actually looks like grass, like you know how you showed the Chiba Hut logo there.
Hmm.
Kind of looks like that with
It
like
kind of
grass
does
coming
like
out of the
little like
top.
stars, and it
Yeah.
like it's like not perfect, which is kind of nice.
Hmm.
Um, so one other thing, ways I'll use these tools. So let's just say we create two lines.
Yep.
Just go into object, kind of blend, and kind of doing the same process we were doing a second ago. Um, blend options, change the specified steps. Let's bring it down to just like 10. So it's saying basically 10 lines between here. We can still use these same warp effects on these groups, which I think is super important because like whenever you're actually doing some crazier stuff, just using these same tools in a variety of different ways, I think is just really how you can get super creative with this.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's just random tangent, but I'm probably gonna do that a lot too. But yeah, there's just so many ways to use these same tools. Um, cool. So getting in here, kind of looking at the UFO, the next thing I'll do is this little like door that's
Hmm.
on there. So that should be an easy one. What I'll do is I'll kind of just create like a small little rectangle, bring this over here roughly, maybe align it to that shape. And then from here, I'm going to click A for direct selection, click on both of these and bring this in and kind of get that curved shape that's going to go there.
Yeah.
And let's bring this in front a little bit. Sweet. So we're starting to get it. Probably bring all this up maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the other things we can dive into, actually, yeah, let's do kind of these little palm trees on the side. Because honestly, these are going to be a little tricky.
Yeah.
So let's see which way is going to work best here. So I'm just going to create kind of these little rectangles.
Hmm.
Let's go skinnier with it.
Yeah, just as a time check, we're about 34 minutes into the stream. So
Wow.
just a
Heard.
time check for you and the time check for chat. If you have any questions, you have one more hour, man. Just like
Yeah,
tell me all the
that's
questions. I'll relay
wild.
them to Colby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, please don't hesitate on the questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm totally down. I'm here to answer everything. Most of the
Hmm.
things I've learned too has come from other designers that I've learned
Hmm.
from. So
Yeah.
I will be honest, if it's an answer that, maybe Andrew Hockrattle has given like years ago or like something from
Yeah.
Skillshare or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But Yeah, or even Jack Watson. I've learned so much from her with just like,
Jack is amazing. When you mentioned the
yeah, it's
color
so
thing,
wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jack came to mind. Like, wow, Jack just instantly picks colors like the best
Hmm.
colors. They're just
Yes.
like they all just always work together. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
going on, Jack?
It is wild. And like, so some
Yeah,
people are just so good at that where it's like, I definitely have
yeah.
to utilize tools to like, let me find this
Hmm.
color palette. Let me see what's working, which is why generative recolor has been really huge for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So I'm going to go back into this effect panel, made the one rectangle. From here, I'm going to use, it might be arc, but let's see the vertical version. Yeah,
Hmm.
let's do that. Kind of get that curved palm tree base.
Hmm.
And then from there, I'm just going to hold Alt and drag, duplicate it, transform, reflect.
Yep.
Also, I know there's a ton of shortcuts with a lot of these. Actually, I don't need to reflect it. I need to bring this to negative warp.
Yeah.
Boom. So there's probably a ton of shortcuts that I don't do because I've built kind of bad habits of like, okay, let me do, objects, Pathfinder clip, and I actually
Yeah.
just kind of click them. So I'm
Yeah.
like stuck in those ways sometimes. But if you can learn the shortcuts, like some of the shortcuts I use, like I just use for everything, like Alt drag to duplicate is
Hmm.
one I use like every day.
Yeah. I feel like that's also good, especially when you're like showing your process a lot. And I know you used to live stream a lot on your
Mm-hmm.
personal Behance account. So I feel like
Yep,
that's also helpful for people to learn who don't exactly know the shortcuts. So like actually going to the windows and clicking on those, because sometimes I even
it's true.
forget where the things are because I just like click on
Yeah,
the like touch the shortcuts and I forget where it is on the properties panel. I'm like, oh, I don't know where this is.
no, and honestly, same. And I get
Yeah.
so used to sometimes I'm like, oh, I click them over here on this right side, or
Hmm.
like I just do them without thinking. So then the time
Yeah.
where I'm trying to explain where that is, I'm like, oh, like where
I'm
is that?
lost.
It's like I
Yeah.
swear that used to be there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it's like, except it's not an object. It's in like select or it's in like one of these other windows that like I just don't
Yeah.
think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, done that too many times. So I think for here, simplicity wise, I just kind of made some little stars, just
Hmm.
kind of keep it simplified, so we can
Hmm.
kind of show some other of the process as well. So we don't have to get too deep in the weeds on like building these tops of these palm trees.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's look over the sketch again. Because I always like to zoom out and kind of go back to see kind of where we are and where we're landing.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about this bottom warp effect going on there. So I think that can be adjusted a little more. And we kind
Hmm.
of get like a good base to this UFO. Yeah. I think it's also at a good point to duplicate it,
Yep.
in case I do any other crazy things. But
Yeah.
just kind of, yeah, duplicate over here.
Just make sure
So
you have a copy, just in
100%.
case. Yeah. You mess up.
Excuse me. Yeah. Um, sorry, let me drink something.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think
Losing
like
my
looking
voice.
at it, yeah, it's all the talking will do that to you, man. I think like looking at it from like a different angle now, I feel like the center
Mhm.
might be like too spiky for the palms, but that's
I
just
think
like what I feel.
no, I agree with that because like
Yeah.
these are like big points where these are little
Hmm.
points, and I think
Yeah.
like those should kind of be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to like create that consistency.
Yeah. So even I wonder if dropping in one of these effects on the stars is going to do that, or if it's going to break everything.
Ooh.
That's crazy. Yeah. See, that's so much fun to kind of just see things kind of happen. So let's
Yeah.
play with these for a moment and just
That's okay.
yeah,
I'm
it's kind of
actually
making
not.
snowflakes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
that's
fun. That's like a
okay.
fun way to make snowflakes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of find we're gonna do one of these kind of crazier ones. And I might regret it later on, whenever I
You
try
have
to
a copy
expand
though.
this. Yes, I do have a copy. So that's why we do that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna click OK on that one because that's a interesting
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
Maybe
mad
bring
about
in
that.
these sides. I
Yeah.
don't know, same. Like, and we can get super stylized with this anyways, too, just for the fun of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Bring that down a little bit.
I
Cool.
mean,
And so
who
I'm gonna
knows? Maybe this is like one of your new styles and you just happen to find it live.
oh, definitely. And
Yeah.
that's honestly that's happened to me a lot before too. Even like my personal live streams,
Hmm.
where like I would just kind of do something and then something by accident happened, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
okay, that's a core brand element now in that
Yeah.
brand. So I was like, cool. I'm glad I figured that out.
Yeah.
And so even here, reflecting that switch the pattern, and I
Hmm.
keep doing that because I don't shouldn't actually reflect it. Let me delete that one. What I should be doing is doing, I think, a negative version of that effect.
Yep.
So if I go over here, click on zigzag. Actually, I don't know if I can. I don't know if this is gonna
Oh, I
do it.
think it looks exactly. Oh,
Oh, right. Oh, I
I
guess right
think it.
now it
Yeah.
does. Oh, I can probably just manually rotate it.
Hmm.
Here's what happened right there, which I'll show you guys. Having this and then object reflect, it kind of
Hmm.
made it into a different shape.
Yeah.
So another route I could do is actually go to object expand. And then now I can definitely bring that over. But before we do that, let's keep these live shapes and let's duplicate it again.
Yep.
Because there's a
We
fair
already
chance
messed
that
up the duplicate. Because this
yeah.
was
Well, no, I have
supposed to
that
be the
one.
duplicate.
Oh, geez. Yeah, but no, I have this one duplicated over here as well. So,
Oh,
like I said,
okay.
it's always messy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I changed my mind a lot too.
Yeah, and also save your work. Friends, save your
Yes.
work. Yeah.
Good call. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Um, so in here you can see right now we have kind of just these live shapes. So it's these
Mhm.
shapes with effects on them.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to do is probably just kind of expand them. So what this is going to do is going to kind of flatten the effects that are on them. And so now
Mhm.
these are like, actually, before I do that, if you go Command Y, you can see it's still the basic star, basic triangles and core shapes.
Yep.
But if I go back from wireframe mode and go to object expand, boom. Now you can kind of see it's like these are actual kind of shapes in there.
Mhm. Wow, that's a
Boom.
lot of points. I
Yeah,
see why
right?
you said you might regret it.
Yes.
I see it
And
now.
like, yeah, and honestly, I might go in there later on and just, yeah, especially when we
Change
start
everything back up to
doing
what it
textures or
was.
something,
Yeah.
100%. Or
Yeah.
even with this. So one thing that's happening here is I'm kind of seeing some of the negative space poking out there.
Mhm.
So two options I can do is kind of bring this shape up, but
Yep.
I kind of want to bring this down. I don't
Yep.
want this roof to touch that door. So
Mhm.
what I might do is add another effect on this and kind of arc it just a little bit
Mhm.
and kind of just give it a
Ooh,
little more curvature to that roof. I think it help it feel a little more organic, even though these are very spiky shapes.
it does. Can we quickly see the before and after, like the saved version on the left?
Yeah.
Ooh, that does
Um.
make a lot of a difference. I think the one on the left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Where this one's very flat,
Mhm.
like just going straight across here, that kind of triangle shape. This has a little bit of curvature to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is just these little tiny details on
Yeah.
it. Is just kind of doing those things. So yeah, let's group that. I'm gonna do Alt drag, kind of bring it back over here, get that one out of the way because I kind of abandoned that one.
Yeah.
Kind of expand it again.
We
So now
got
that roof, yeah,
got too lost in the process. Lost in
it
the
did.
sauce. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But I don't know. So I'm bringing this back over here again because I should keep the expanded version up here as well.
Mhm.
Um, from here, I'm also going to go into Pathfinder before I kind of do these other things I was about to do.
Mhm.
And I'm going to, let's do trim, or is that merge?
Okay.
Let's do merge.
Mhm.
And no, let's go back. I think it's trim. No, let's go merge. Sorry. Indecisive all the time. And then
Yeah.
here we'll kind of bring these to the right layer. Actually, I don't know if that's going to be what I wanted.
We'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess this is the reason why like
Sensors,
always use
no.
shape finder. Shape builder? Shape builder. Wow, I just like messing it up.
Oh, yeah.
Shape
And
I
honestly,
prefer shape builder more than pathfinder. It's just like less confusing and you can control every little shape there. You have
no,
more control.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I think part of the error right there was it wasn't fully expanded. But to be
Mhm.
honest, like for building with shapes and everything else, I don't use like shape builder tool very much, which
Yeah.
is wild. Like I've used it like occasionally and it is like awesome. But yeah,
Yeah.
not always.
Yeah.
So right there when I did do actually let's do this one. So when I do the merge,
Mhm.
now it's like it didn't have the weird effect thing happening because I
Mhm.
expanded it more.
Yeah.
And before where this shape was kind of like overlapping, if I drag this up, now it's just shapes on shapes basically.
Yeah.
Which actually I wonder if it's gonna be better to remove these little pieces now since I kind of
Oh.
conveniently trimmed that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Sweet. So
Yeah.
duplicating that again, bringing that in here. One thing I'll also do is I'll keep duplicates kind of in my Adobe library over here on the right
Mhm.
because why not just have some backup versions?
Yeah, just in case you forget to save your file.
100%. Yeah.
That's actually a great tip. I should do that more.
Yeah. No,
I never save
it's
save variants in my library. Yeah.
oh, I do. Yeah, and I'll just kind of group them at the end and like maybe
Mhm.
I'll remove them later on when I have like a
Yeah.
final version, but it's definitely worth it. Something briefly I think to touch on to kind of compare these UFOs is the text to vector. So I
Yeah.
know we like there's Firefly and I've used a lot of these other tools that are kind of these roster tools and even like
Mhm.
other ones like Midjourney, but
Mhm.
having vector shapes is like huge. It's kind of
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll kind of generate a UFO over here in case it takes a second.
Yep.
But yeah, one way I try to use these is using them for like almost like stock assets or elements
Mhm.
within my illustration.
Mm-hmm.
So I can use them for like stars or like little planets or like, if I want a pattern in the background. And I think
Yeah.
some of those like secondary elements.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
That's
So some of the
fascinating.
UFOs
Yeah.
right here. And then we got this one, and they're pretty solid UFOs. Like
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't be enough, in my opinion, to just like be just usable right out of there, but like to
Yeah.
use them alongside your assets or just like use this base of like even just these black shapes for the UFO is like a solid, just
Yeah.
simple icon version.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are huge as well. Boom.
Yeah, I guess for inspiration too, you can kind of like if you're stuck in your process and you just want a different perspective, maybe you can just do that and like find
Mm-hmm.
something that you like. I love that well there in the chat, just as you mentioned patterns, well there in the chat says seeing the duplicates side by side makes me think that this would turn into an amazing pattern, like a pattern of the duplicates,
Oh
just to see
yeah.
the process. So it would be cool. I
Oh yeah.
agree.
We'll definitely do that.
Yeah. And Jack says
Let's do
Colby's building a whole town of houses with the variations or copies.
it. Pretty much. And because honestly, you have to do that until you get the one that's like, okay, that's the good one.
Yeah. And maybe like if you like two of them, maybe one could be like a seasonal UFO. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this is the fall UFO and this is a spring
Yes.
UFO, just with the different colors
Yes.
and
This one's got
like
like summer vibes. These kind of feel like
yeah,
little suns on the side as well.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, just kind of dropping this in here to get an idea of how this might even feel on top of here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, since we are talking about those seasons, I think it's a good opportunity to just kind of show some recoloring of these real fast. So we have these.
Love the segue. Let's do
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of color, so if you open up, actually, I should probably explain what I even did. So have this object selected, go to edit, edit colors, recolor. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna see a different window. So always like I just click advanced artwork, but I've clicked to always open that up. So that's all I see now. And
Yep.
you can see these colors in here. This window, like when it's come to packaging and just everything, like this has been the one I use so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
for merch, like trying to get color variations, it's been huge.
Yeah.
So some ways we can do it is we can go into Adobe Color
Mm-hmm.
and we can kind of add, some swatch colors to our Adobe library pretty easily.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't feel like I don't need to show that process. So what I'm going to
Yeah.
do is, oh, there it is. Kind of create some shapes really fast with these
Mm-hmm.
stars. If I can do it, boom, boom. Okay, that's what I want. So just duplicate stars and then duplicate one and then go Command D just to keep duplicating them quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I keep adjusting the stroke. I hate when I do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of assigning a color to these. And honestly, there might be a way easier way to do this, but this is kind of how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Windows, swatches, and then what I'll do is create a new color group with these colors. So that
Yeah.
one, boom, boom. So I have that one now. It lives there. I can
Yeah.
just kind of delete these. So then I can go up to this again, select that shape, go edit colors, recolor artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you can see this color group shows up over here on the right side.
Yeah.
So I can just kind of click there and kind of cycle through. So now it's showing that these colors equal these colors. So this light color equals that. And it kind of auto assigns them. You can then also go in and randomly adjust them.
Yep.
So once I usually find like this is kind of a bad color palette example, to be honest, because it probably should have done monochromatic. But
Yeah.
I can cycle through them and just see how you can quickly see kind of what's working and what's not working. Something else that's been huge for me, and it's kind of changed lately. So I don't know if it really is the ideal way. When I'm working with packaging, I need to use Pantone colors a lot.
Yep.
And so one way you can do that is this little section here. You can change it to color books and you can select, you want to show certain Pantone colors.
Yeah.
But so those were kind of removed recently. I think you can maybe purchase like add-ons and extensions, kind of have them in there. So if we're going to packaging, 100% do that because then all of a sudden now it'll show you the closest Pantone colors to that.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I
Mhm.
think in the library, if you right click the color swatch that you've added,
Mhm.
it says add to swatches, add colors to swatches, or add.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah.
and like I get such in the habit of skipping some of these things that like
Mhm.
I don't even think like that's totally like an intuitive
Yeah.
like thing to have right there. So that's it speeds it up even better. Thank you. Because like as I make those shapes, I'm like, I know there's got to be a better way, but like I'm
Yeah.
just like stuck in my old ways sometimes.
Yeah. I was not 100% sure, but I was like, I have done this before. I just like don't do this as often to know for sure that this exists.
Oh no, that's fair. And honestly, like if you think it's probably there at this point, it probably is. Because
Yeah.
it's like going with like what the intuitive thing is a
Mhm.
lot of times where it seems like the people designing these programs, like that's what they're aiming for.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So newer thing, cool thing, generative recolor. You can get to it from the same window, and now you can let's just type in like those seasons like we were talking about. So if this is the summer UFO, what's the fall UFO? I'm gonna go season just to give it a little more context.
Yep. Yeah. Fall might give might be
Yeah,
multiple definitions.
like who
Yeah.
knows what'll pop up
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not crazy about these. Let's go into what's another kind of like a descriptive word for like fall?
Spooky Halloween vibes. I don't know. I'm just that's
Halloween.
just
I like that.
yeah.
That's a good one. Which I think might come back with orange again, if I had to
Might
guess.
be. Might be. Halloween might be. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Let's go winter. Let's just do the opposite.
Mhm.
I feel like that's probably the safer bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like some of these are still under construction or under
Hmm.
development. So they're always like changing at all times. So
Yeah,
it's okay to have like sometimes unexpected results because it's also learning from your process.
100%. And I think a lot of times when I get those, I use them for like ideas, and then I'll go and
Hmm.
refine them. So kind of using
Absolutely.
this recolor artwork window, like just looking at it, I think from the example, the muted color right here is the one that's not working on this. So
Hmm.
even just kind of keeping the same monochromatic vibe, like let's just switch that there.
Yep.
Too much, kind of just eyeballing it a little bit. Boom. That's still not working. Um, what do I want? I think I want a darker color. Let's try one more before I give up. Cool, that's better.
Yeah. We have that Gus in the chat saying hi to us.
Oh, hi Gus. It's been a while. It's good to see you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Let me close that layer behind here. So let's kind of dive into this word mark for a second because I want to get
Hmm.
all these elements on here, and I need to keep moving. Oh, I locked that layer. That's why.
It's all
Boom.
good. We're about
Copy
40
that.
minutes in. 40? No, we're 50 minutes in. So just
Oh,
about
okay.
at the halfway mark.
Okay.
We're
Nice.
all good to go.
So that's
Yeah.
always fun. Honestly, the time really does fly by. Even talking to you before this, I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
nervous to stream again. But it's
Yeah.
like once we get in, like just kind of start. I don't know. Once I have something to show and talk about,
Mhm.
then it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just like
Cool.
get into it. And as long as you're enjoying the
Mhm.
process, feel like you don't really realize how much time has passed.
Oh, definitely. So I'm gonna kind of hide this background layer a little more. I liked
Hmm.
Carol's idea of using a blending mode instead of just transparency. I thought that was actually pretty good
Yeah.
insight.
Yeah.
Um, so this was kind of drawn Adobe Fresco. Like I was saying before, I think Stellar is working. I think Subs isn't working.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna kind of bring this out here. Let's remove that. So now I have that as one group. Edit, paste in place. So then I have Subs. Let me group that. Boom. So one thing I was thinking we could try here is like object, I think path, and let's go to an offset path. I want to give it a little more width, maybe. From
Hmm.
seeing the counterforms in here, like the insides of the letters, I don't know if that's gonna be the right way to go.
Can you do a negative offset and make it white or the color of the background?
What? Yeah, what do you wait, yeah, what do you mean? I'm so curious now.
I was just like, can you make it a negative offset and make it like the color of the background so it like adds the shape but also like takes away from the shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that make sense? I don't know if you can do. I think you can
maybe.
do negative offset.
Or is it within the same window?
Yeah, just like minus in the offset setting. Yeah, right there. Can
And
you?
I
Oh,
have
yeah,
two on
it
here right
does.
now.
Does it work? I don't know if it works.
Let
I
me
can't really tell.
yeah, let's try with this one for a second.
Or if you can just do the offset and change it to the color of the background, or just do like remove
Yeah.
with the Pathfinder. I think that should work too.
Well, I'm super curious if the
Oh,
negative is
there you
gonna work.
go. It
So
does
it's got
work.
like yeah, so it's got like the kind of layer on the inside.
Yeah. So you can
Interesting.
just like direct select the inside layer and then
Mm,
use that to like deduct that shape.
gotcha. Okay, now that's a cool approach to it as well. One thing I was gonna try here was like object path and like simplify. And so kind of like let me just go in close so you can kind of see what's happening. So some
Mhm.
of these things that are drawn by hand, they're like weirder shapes.
Mhm.
Object path, simplify. And this is just kind of reducing the amount of kind of points that are on there. So I think just kind of going through and just kind of finding a good spot. for that, just kind of help it a little bit. Still not crazy about it, but I think just it helps little details when you get up and close and when it's printed. So let's do that with this one as well. Yeah, and I think it just, especially with these kind of bubble letter kind of feel, I think that's kind of definitely works well for that.
Yeah, just makes it more rounded. No pun intended.
Yeah. I think there definitely was a pun intended there. Save that. Cool. One thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go back into my library. I'm going to go into a secret other folder that you guys aren't looking at. It's a work folder, and I'm going to find the sandwich illustration I should have put in my other one. So you can see these get pretty messy. It's a lot of stock assets. Actually, no, it's not this folder. I had a different folder.
We looked at it. It's right here.
Yes.
But we looked at your
This was my practice folder ahead of time. So something to talk about with the libraries, when you bring these, if you just drag it over, it's going to be linked. So one thing I do, you can kind of go in there and embed it from there, but I'll just double click and just copy and paste it into here.
I learned this the hard way.
How? Yeah.
So you can just like Option or Alt click and drag it from your library to your file, and that'll make a copy of it. And it's
what?
Yeah. That was my reaction when I found out.
Oh geez. There's so many of those things like that I just I've been doing it this way for like years now at this point that I just don't even realize it. But I'm gonna use that every day now. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like love that we all go through the same struggles and we're like, I don't know how to do this. And we just like find our own ways when we're learning to use some tools. We just like 100%. Go with it and run with it.
Yeah. Oh, that just kind of blew my mind. It's going to take me a minute to recover from that.
Let us know, chat, if you've ever had any of these experiences, like watching Adobe Live or like any of your favorite designers create something and you're like, oh, wait, how did you do that? It's like always that moment with us.
Yeah, that happens. Or if there's a certain stream too. Honestly, it happened. Doc Reed had a stream, like a pro tips one for texturing, like maybe 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
So like, I have my routine, but like, from watching that, there's so many moments where I was like, oh dang, like, that's the way I should be doing it.
Yeah.
So just getting this in a good place. I'm gonna edit colors, and I don't know if I'll mess with that sub too much. So let's bring this other layer on top. Let's add a different color to it. Let's kind of go with like a lime greenish almost. And what I'm going to do is go to window transparency. I'm going to play with the blending mode and see if anything in here kind of works, doesn't work. But actually, before I do that, I'm going to give it kind of a background because I do want it to have like a black background because it's like outer space. I also generally will try to like use kind of like an off black versus
not quite black.
100%. Yeah. Or not 100%. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely not 100%. Yeah.
Yes. And bring this back in front. Oh, that has blending mode on it. So from here, just same thing as well. I was talking about this warp tools, just kind of seeing what's working and what's not working. So let's do that. Let's just bring some of these in front, actually. At least that one, and let's do this one. Boom. Yeah. One thing I'm going to do over here on the side, because I'm going to speed up a little bit. Let's get some stars for that. Let's have that generating those. At the same time, I'm going to show you, maybe not at the same time, but I'm going to show you how to kind of create a quick star using these effect tools as well. So yeah, these stars are kind of, I think I have to really specify. It's kind of all over the place. So one way you can go about doing it as well, kind of creating shape here, which actually may need to be a circle. Let me do this first and see if I remember.
I think you can do with both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know where I'm going with this. Yep.
With a circle, you can do a pucker and bloat if.
That's okay.
Okay. I think it will work with this too. It'll work.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So this was kind of the one I was thinking of as well, but like kind of creating these like more like starburst looking stars. Yeah. And
I actually prefer the starburst stars instead of the regular stars. Yeah.
Oh, same. Instead of like these actual like shaped stars.
Yeah, they're just like too plain. They're just too plain for my taste.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. Same. It's like they feel more realistic. Like, yeah. So, gonna do some little crazier things really quick. I'm just kind of get these in here. and I'm kind of making them in like almost a rectangle like shape. You
Yep.
may know I'm kind of gonna make a pattern out of them.
Yep.
Hopefully this comes out decent on the fly. So we shall see. Kind of
Yeah.
adding in the stars, getting like a little couple of yellow stars, scaling it down a little bit. So playing with the scale. And let's have some tiny ones. So some things is like within design principles, one of the things to think about is scale is the thing you can play with. But you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you have like a very large one, a small one, a medium one. If they all start kind of feeling the same, then nothing's really unique. So just having that huge contrast in scale is something that, when you're doing stuff like this, you really want to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Especially when you're creating patterns and stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a pattern shouldn't feel like a pattern while still be a pattern. It's like a
Exactly.
weird
No, it's
thing.
just, yeah, it is. But like once you kind of do it enough times, then you're like, oh, that makes sense perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be that balance of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, creating that. Let's do one more. It's not really the best rectangle, but let's say if we were gonna create a box around this, yeah, it's kind of there. So let's just go ahead and get that. Let's go up to object pattern. Okay, I'm on it. I was like, where is this? But I'm hovering over it. And you can
Yeah.
see it's kind of starting to create this pattern. There's some weird things happening with like this star, which is probably maybe that's just that star. That's weird. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, let's see if I can maybe do brick by brick, and it'll kind of break up that pattern a little bit. We're
Mm-hmm.
fortunate that like I don't have to play with like the spacing, the width and height too much. That like it
Yeah.
kind of fits nicely in there. And let's call this stars. Although there's UFOs in there, and I'm gonna click done right here. Boom. So now this lives. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna save that in my library. But let's use
Yep.
the actual library.
Yep.
Boom.
I actually love that you already like made it in a square. I always go into the pattern maker tool and then edit it. But this is like a
Oh,
great time saver. Yeah.
yeah. See, I just try to think of it in the square, and
Yeah.
sometimes it won't work.
Yeah.
But yeah. But now I can go create a shape, and I can just click this, and
Mm-hmm.
now I have this as like a seamless pattern. And if I
Mm-hmm.
spent more time on it, it would definitely be better.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
feel like this could work great as like a packaging for like wrapping
Mhm.
the sub into it. Or like, hey, here's a stellar
Yes.
sub.
Oh, see, that would
Like
be
a
cool. Like, yeah, the foil
summer flavor.
packaging or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect. So I'm gonna just kind of send this to the back. Let's go okay at it. Clicking random buttons at this point. This is popping up. Let's get rid of
Yeah.
that. Let's there. Sorry. Boom. Let's send that black shape to the back. And let's see if there's just a quick blending mode that'll kind of just lighten these up a little better.
Ooh.
Um yeah, that's better. Let's bring this down a lot, the actual opacity. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just more of this just background element. I think the
Yeah.
UFOs aren't really working. So I'd want to just kind of add in more stars and little planets would kind of be the move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to just let's do this one time without these.
Oh, that's a cool. Yeah. See, that's the difference between like using the repeat grade. I don't know if you've ever used it within Illustrator to create
No,
patterns. So like
no, not
you
really.
know how it used to be in XD with like repeat grids, it's also in Illustrator,
Mhm.
which I use sometimes to like
That's
create
wild.
patterns that I don't have to like export out the same way.
Yeah.
And they're like a one-time use, and I just like use the repeat grid there, which creates some funky looking
Oh,
results.
Jesus. No, I didn't even realize because I've used that in XD as well. And that was
Yeah.
like so cool. And honestly, I kind of forgot about it
Yeah.
because I
Yes,
haven't
if
been
you
using XD in a while.
yeah, if you go to object repeat, there's like options that you can find there. But we can get to it after
Gotcha.
this. Yeah.
Let's just kind of get this into a pattern real quick.
Hmm.
So I do want to jump over to Photoshop.
Yep. Yeah, we have
Uh,
about 25, 24 minutes to go to the end of the
Heard.
stream.
Yeah, sweet. So I will move this over to Photoshop in just a second,
Hmm.
just to kind of keep us on track. It is crazy how fast time flies by though when you're
It
kind of in the
does.
zone doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just being live and talking with
Mhm.
someone through your process also takes away a lot of your time because
Oh,
ideally
definitely.
you're working by yourself.
Yeah. And that's something I've learned when I was doing like my private, like just like my personal live streams, is like
Mm.
I'm talking to myself for like 2 hours or something. At
Yeah.
the end of it, I'm like, whoa, like that's a long time of just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just kind of keep that subtle right there. I think that'd be cool. Let's just drop kind of shape around all of this, put it
Hmm.
all in like a mask, just kind of clean it up a little bit. I'm going to hide this text to vector window, make that clipping mask. Boom. So let's
All
click
right.
save for a moment.
Oh yeah, save
Um,
your friends.
Yeah, right. Always. Um, so one thing I kind of want to show here too, really quick, is
Mm-hmm.
like this texturing, and it's kind of newer to what like way about it I've learned, which is pretty cool. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did right there is I duplicated, so I have a layer above this stellar.
Yep.
I'm going to, how do I want to start this? I'll create a compound path.
Mm-hmm.
So what this is saying is thinking instead of each of these, actually before I do that, I'll click the gradient. So what's happening, kind of, no, I want to group it. So what happens if I have all these? They're all going to be individual gradients. But if I
Yep.
go to object compound path, it's kind of treating them all as like one.
Yep.
Boom. So thinking about just quickly, lighting is coming from this. So let's say I do this to this. So I've got that dark to light kind of values in there. One
Yeah.
thing you can do is go into, I want to go into some of these like Photoshop effects really
Mm-hmm.
quick. And
Yeah.
I want to let's do the color halftone. But I think I need to subtract. So this kind of works if you're in CMYK.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to do is, okay, those are all that. Let's just see. Let's do it first because it might work and I'm overthinking it. Let's just use the graphic pen. Oh, I
Okay.
lost my gradient.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here, boom. Okay, effect, and then we'll go down to sketch.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to graphic pen, and I'm bringing this window over here. So this little window pops up. And
Ooh.
from there, I'm just kind of messing with these a little more. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Let's just click OK. And I'm going to then, okay, so it's a few steps in here. And then I'm going to go into image trace.
Okay.
So right now it's a raster image,
Mm-hmm.
but actually, no, I need to go. It's like a weird effect on it. So first, I got to rasterize it.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's kind of turned into an image. I can preview this. I want to go into advanced and let's ignore white. And then the threshold kind of get mess with this. I think increasing noise or decreasing noise does a lot. So maybe not the best example for this.
Maybe increasing noise might help. Adds
Kind
more points to it.
kind of, but it simplifies this.
Oh, yeah, I see what
Um,
you mean. Yeah, but I get the idea. It's like adding texture just using like the Photoshop patterns, and then you can make them actual shapes and convert them into vector.
exactly.
Mm.
Um,
Do you think you
so
want to
expand
change
that.
the? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. No, so
Do you
just kind
think
of.
you change like the color? Okay, there we go. You're
Yep.
doing it.
Yeah. So I was gonna try to see if it would be a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Boom. Let's bring this back into one of these oranges, just kind of quickly. So when this happens, you want to go to it's the color of it. But we're gonna go down a rabbit hole there. So I'm gonna bring
Mm-hmm.
us back into Photoshop.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of save this. Let me actually duplicate this file so I can do what
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying I actually do. Working files, v2 working files. Boom. Change the end of that to v2.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So now I still have all that process work in this file. I'm just gonna go and delete all the unnecessary stuff because I have that in the other version.
Yep.
And let's delete that. Boom.
Sweet.
Yeah. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and save it again.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go save as. Hmm. Let's maybe use a PDF version. I'm trying to think if it will. Nope. So let's do it as a PDF. Boom, boom, boom. Make sure you got high settings on.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So let's bring this into Photoshop.
Let's do it. Penny joined us super late, but she's been lurking and says that this is turning out so cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's very kind. Let me just find my files for a second.
Yeah,
Boom.
and while you guys are sticking around with us, let us know if you have any questions for Colby. We are
Mhm.
just about 20 minutes to the end of the stream. Not even 20, actually. We're about 15 minutes out. So, yeah, let us know.
Yeah. So one thing I
The
realized over
links
here.
to, yeah,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, I was just saying that the links to your work in the stream description. So, if you want to check out Colby's work later or give him a follow on Instagram, make sure to do that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So I probably should have brought these in kind of as layers. Boom. Let's bring in that. It's going to be, let's copy this.
Here's where the layers fun
I
comes
know.
in.
And I always end up regretting it at the end. So I'm like, actually, I did need layers.
Should have done that in the first place, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, well.
Well, with Illustrator, you can. So it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. With Photoshop, yeah, it's a whole different game.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let me just do this here before I regret it.
Yeah.
Cool. And let's do stellar subs on another layer.
Thank you, Jack, for putting it the links for Colby's Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then this one will be sandwich.
Now I really want the stellar sub, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
This looks pretty cool.
Well, thanks.
Even the sandwich illustration is like, yeah.
And honestly, that was a quick one where it was like 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I need a sandwich and I don't have
15 minutes? Wow.
Yes, it was like, okay, no shading, just shapes, and I have to get this sent to the print shop ASAP. Was kind of how that one went out.
I think the line work really adds to it with the color and like no shading.
Yeah. No, I agree. If not, like I kind of have to do that to all of them as well. So there's like, I think a big thing is like consistency.
Absolutely. Just like thinking about how you want to take the whole process and project, because it's not just a one-off.
So I'm gonna bring Photoshop back over. I may have to do it a different way. We'll see if this is actually gonna be the right way.
Yeah, we're here for the experimentation. Cool. I was just importing the file. Okay.
Yep. So actually what we want to do is probably bring in layer by layer, I think. Because I'm not getting the layers. So gonna hide these just to kind of do it quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm copying that one, bring in Photoshop up. Let's go kind of new layer. Just gonna paste it. Let's just do it as a pixel layer. Just kind of get these in here.
Yep.
Because I do want to show you quickly how I'm setting them up for kind of Adobe Aero.
Yeah.
So boom. The scaling always throws me off in Photoshop now too. It's like I never know whether to hit shift.
Do you hold shift or not? Yeah.
And that was like for the longest time it was like a yes or it was like a no, and it's like I don't even know anymore. It's like let's just see which one doesn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a game every time. Like, does it work or does it not work?
Yes.
What's gonna happen? Like Photoshop keeping us on our toes every single time.
I know, but it is good too because I like having things consistent. Is just like once you learn it one way, it's hard to like unlearn it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. 100%.
Cool. And so last layer here is the sub. Boom. And so I know for sure there's probably better ways to do this, but that's the way we're doing it.
Is the sorry, I'm just curious. Is the screen blend mode still on for the
No, for this? And so I think honestly, before you're right, because I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get away with it, but nope. I think it's better just to do it this way and have them separate as well. Like I might as well just have them on separate layers. I think
sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. I was like, it's like, do I do it? I was like, I'm like in the back of my head, like, yeah, debating, but you're totally right. Because once I bring in the arrow, it's like having more layers is even better than like having them locked up too much. Boom. Sweet. Let me bring this down. Maybe I'll just scale it up a little bit. Boom. So let me do this. Boom. And then from here, go to one of these blending modes and find something that's going to be good. Tight. So I'm going to...
I actually like the sub on top of the subs. That actually kind of gives it...
to the like overlap, I think is a stronger composition. And to be honest, after this, I'm still going to go and clean up a lot of this.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, I hate most of the things I end up making, but like sometimes it's just like on the fly. It's like, okay, let me just do this to show the process versus like,
Oh, absolutely. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's just the first iteration.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. So saved that. Boom. And then we're going to go to, let's remember how to do this real quick. Cool. So I saved it as a PSD file. So here's where we're going to get a little crazy too. We're going to go into Adobe Aero. So this is the beta version, which I am allowed to stream to. I asked, so no worries.
Absolutely.
They have it within the Creative Cloud kind of desktop application to where it's
Mhm.
like now you can build it within the desktop versus kind of the phone version where you're kind of just, it's way harder to do it
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah, it's
So,
a smaller screen. I get it. Yeah.
mhm. And then just trying to interact with it versus have a keyboard and everything.
Mhm.
Something called Stellar Sub. And you can see some other files I've been playing around with, just kind of animating stuff using GIFs and 3D models. So Aero is a fun tool that I'm
Mhm.
surprised people don't use more of because it's very easy to do.
Have you
So
ever used Mixamo with Aero? Just curious.
I have actually,
Oh,
because that's
cool.
the one where
Yeah.
you can have like the almost like dance moves and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was huge. I found like a 3D model that actually can be puppeted. You add the
Oh,
Mixamo, so they're
sweet.
dancing. Honestly,
Yeah.
one of these that was in that file was probably that. It was like a spider
Yeah, I
person
did
that
see
has
that.
like,
That's why I asked.
yeah, yes. So those are always fun. So create a new project, just Stellar Sub, nothing too crazy.
Mhm.
Looking at Aero, some stuff to kind of keep in mind. You have some of your navigation tools here. You have some of your starter assets. I'm going to hide those. Down here, behavior builder. This is where you do the actual like animations you want to trigger.
Mhm.
And then over here, once we start importing stuff, you're going to see that all change. So yeah, let me hide my files while I actually find it, so you guys don't see my work projects.
Yeah.
Boom.
No NDA stuff being
Yeah,
streamed. Yeah.
hopefully not. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, no, there's nothing crazy. It's sandwiches. You're gonna find our
Yeah.
new Krabby Patty formula.
Yeah. Especially like I think everyone's hungry by now. So people aren't really like looking at the details.
Yeah.
It's just like, where do I find my next dollar sum? Penny in the chat says, was Colby hungry when he drew the sandwich?
Yes, 100%. And this did this the other day too, where it flipped it. I'm trying to remember how I actually, because I fixed it very easily, but I don't remember what exactly I did. I feel like I spun it like a few times and all of a sudden it just fixed.
Oh, yeah. That's
So I don't
interesting.
know. I'm surprised it mirrored it.
Oh,
So I
maybe you
will
just like move in the space like around it or
like
not move
this
the
one.
actual. Oh, that's
No, because it's the
fascinating.
backside.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fascinating.
yeah. So I don't know. But if we were gonna do this the right way, I would go back and fix that.
Yeah.
But what I'm really showing you is it's in this 3D scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this selected.
Yeah.
Actually, one other thing we're gonna do is go back over to Illustrator super quickly, find this. We're going to export that single asset.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of right click it to export a single asset. We're going to use JPEG, uh, boom. So I'm just
Or
going
do
to
you
save
mean
that.
PNG? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
PNG.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like
Yeah,
the
it's like, oh
time.
no.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so right. Cool. Let's do this here in that assets folder. Cool. So that's saved there. So I
Mm-hmm.
have that UFO. You'll see why in just a second. But cool. So now I'm back in Adobe Aero. So I have this
Mm-hmm.
selected. What you want to go to is over here in the layout. You can select, where actually was it again? I think it's object.
What are
Where
we
did
trying to do?
have it where it's linked to the image. So
Oh,
right here, the anchor type. So
yeah.
horizontal surface, I'm changing horizontal surface to image.
Mm-hmm.
And now what I'm doing is I'm uploading that one that I just saved, that UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And is it kind of on the background? It's PNG. I didn't add the transparency. Oh well, just kind of proof of concept.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It was JPG after all.
yeah. So from here, I'm going to just kind of like rotate this, kind
Mm-hmm.
of boom.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do it this way. So that one thing you want to really do here is go into, I think it's this position, and drag this. Let's go here. Is it? I think it's the z-axis. I think it's doing.
Yeah, it is moving along the axis.
Yeah, but it should be lane layer spacing is what I'm looking for actually.
Oh, there
So
we
now
go.
I'm kind of adding the depth. Oh, and some reason it's now not inverted
Oh,
with the
that is
text.
weird.
Yeah, but so the importance of layers is now it's separating it by all these individual layers. And
Mm-hmm.
what's going on below it is that image is kind of the base.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're about to say is we're about to go share, we're going to create a link,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be able to download this QR, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to, I'm going to drop that in the poster design. So the
Yeah.
goal is then whenever someone scans your QR code, it's going to prompt them to look for that UFO. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they do that on their phone, the whole scene is going to pop up in augmented reality.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So while this is processing, something
Mm-hmm.
else that's really cool to do is you can go into these triggers and animations down here. You can add like
Yeah.
little like floating stuff to them. You can add actual 3D models. You can use GIFs in here.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can really actually have some stuff come to life in a cool way. So I'm
I
gonna
didn't know you could
download.
use GIFs in Aero now. I haven't used
Yeah.
Aero for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So you can use like a sequence of PNGs or you can use GIFs. I have
Yeah.
had some issues before. So
Mm-hmm.
some things to keep in mind with Aero is your file size.
Mm-hmm.
So it sometimes it takes a minute to load it on your phone, and the
Yeah.
larger the file is for like the user, the longer it's going to take to load,
Mm-hmm.
and the longer it takes to load, the less likely is they're actually going to do it. So sometimes the simpler, the lighter the files, you're way better off and safer.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of is like, think of it as murals where you like have
Mm-hmm.
similar colors on one layer and then just like, or screen printing where you have similar colors on one layer and then just have that on one layer and have the interaction with like, say, 5 layers. And
Yeah.
experimentation is definitely key, like seeing how file size works for you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it is a lot of trial and error and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
seeing what works best. So minimizing that, minimizing Photoshop as well. Oh, here's my background. Boom. Let's go to Illustrator again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to place in that QR code that we just had. But I'm
Yeah.
also going to actually show my layers for a second. Actually, let's place this first.
Yeah. And if you guys are watching and want to scan the QR code,
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure to,
please do. If you scan it for a second, that would be
yeah.
pretty cool. And I took this off of here, which I shouldn't have done.
And I try to scan it and see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let me not move it
Oh,
around a ton. Boom.
yeah. No. Yeah.
So one thing,
One thing to say is like you need to
mhm,
have the Aero app on your phone
I
or
don't know
wherever.
if you do anymore, actually. I think it
Um.
prompts you an option to do it from the web, maybe?
Oh,
Or is it
I
not doing
did
that for
have the
you?
Aero app,
Okay,
so it
if you
it
have it
let.
already, it'll jump to the Arrow app. But I think now is like a newer feature where like
Mm-hmm.
you can use it without the app.
Yeah. So like it is actually prompting me to say locate this image
Mm-hmm.
to find. That's what I see on
Perfect.
my screen. So that's
Okay, and
pretty
that
cool.
went
It
pretty
works.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, do you want to see if you can scan that UFO for a second? If
Yeah,
it's still
let's
there?
yeah.
I kind of wish I had my iPad hooked up. We could be showing like
Oh,
what
I
it
think the
looks like.
light might be different. That's it's not able to scan.
Oh, okay. Let me get a.
Locate this image to view the scene. That's what it says. Oh,
Yeah, it
maybe
might
it
honestly it
wasn't.
might be because I didn't do it with a transparent background
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Oh,
So
you're
something
right.
like that, maybe.
Oh, there we go. I can see it now. It's just
Perfect. Yeah.
it's just interesting to see the results for me. Oh, I see them. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. And so it's like once you get crazy with it being animated, once you add
Hmm.
like textures,
Yeah.
like you can really go pretty crazy with it. And so one of the things I did here on the side while I was talking was I image traced this QR code.
Hmm.
And so what I want to do is just kind of go into here, actually kind of using Pathfinder. I want to go in and trim this one again. I'm going to kind of triple select. I actually didn't get all of them. So select same. Let's go fill color.
Hmm.
Delete all of those. So now I have this as like a little more subtle of a QR code.
Yeah.
And I think eventually I'd want to really find a way to incorporate this in the design in like a nicer way. So maybe
Yeah.
it's a UFO beam, maybe it's white or something. Yeah, maybe it's certain colors. But yeah.
Love that. People in chat also got it working. So Colleen and Oliver agree that it's
Awesome.
working here. Cool. Yeah,
Cool.
pretty
And
cool.
honestly, this is more of a proof of concept versus like, and just
Yeah.
kind of showing you how you can apply it to a lot of your projects.
Hmm.
And like, even by incorporating this now into the poster design, once it's printed, like this kind of functions independently. They'll scan this, the thing to trigger them is on that. Then you can
Absolutely.
also even just have this as a separate like sticker design.
Oh yeah. I feel like there
And
can be so many use cases for like stuff you generate from Aero. We're like, oh, there's like a trigger behavior that if you touch the sub, there's like a 20% discount code on your next purchase or whatever. Like there can be so many interactions with that.
oh,
And
100%.
activations too. Like there's like a sub event.
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone's like displaying
That'd be
their
fun.
best. I don't know. Yeah, like just like a cook your own sub or something. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
It could
Yeah.
be fun.
Like
Yeah.
create your own custom
Yeah, create
thing.
your own. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Some other things that's really quick that is a crazy cool features they've kind of added in here.
Hmm.
Um, is like these mock-up features within. Actually, we're getting close on time, so it might be tough to
We
actually
are.
do that.
Yeah. Why don't
So,
we do like a quick recap of what we did in like a couple of minutes and then we can close
yeah,
out. We only have about 3 minutes left for the end of the stream.
perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So honestly, yeah, it's kind of with the title, multi-app workflow, because it's
Mhm.
kind of chaotic, and that's really just realistically how I work. So
Yeah.
start out in Fresco. Well, really start out in drawing, sketches, pencil sketches, figure out the composition of like what I want to do,
Yeah.
then kind of bring it to Fresco, doing like kind of these other sketches, and sometimes
Mhm.
taking it too far, reeling it back in, and kind of bringing my sketch into Illustrator to just build everything shape by shape.
Yeah.
Um, then I'll usually, honestly, most of my process lives in Illustrator. So I'll do a lot of my texturing there. And honestly, it's because I just love vectors way more than like roster and pixels. So I'm
Mhm.
definitely on that side of the thing. So then Photoshop, I'll use that a lot. Sometimes I play with like gradient maps or like generative fill is crazy. So we didn't even get
Yeah.
to do that. Um, but really just kind of setting up and just playing with colors, textures there. And
Mhm.
then layering the files so that way when you bring it into Aero, it's just import. You kind of separate the lines, lock it onto an image, and then kind of bringing that QR code back into the poster so it can kind of be an interactive design. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's just
pretty
kind of
cool.
just walking through all of that for the most part.
Yeah, I
And
think it would be great to see this process on your Instagram as well. So where can people
yeah,
find you if you would like to post this later or once you're done with the iterations? I think everybody would love to see the process later on too.
yeah. I deleted my link real fast. So let me click on that super
Hmm.
quickly.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely Instagram, it's Clites Creative. Or if not, Behance, since you guys are all here already. You can see a lot of the different case studies I've done in the past, or like live
Hmm.
stream videos where I host kind of my own, kind of whether it's just the iPad talking through patterns, generative recolor. So a lot of these things as well. Yeah, other place to find me if you really want to learn more about Chiba Hut too. You can go on our merch site to purchase some of those designs. But yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a good stream. I really loved and I loved every process of the poster design. I love the stellar sub and I'm gonna get myself a sub. So if
Yeah,
you
thank
guys
you.
are watching and joining us today, thank you so much for being with us
Mhm.
both on YouTube and on Behance. And thank you, Colby, for sharing your process with us here on Adobe Live. I would like to say there is more. So stick
Mhm.
around, get a coffee, get a I don't know, tea or like a yerba
Yeah.
mate and sit back and enjoy. Thanks for watching and stick for more Adobe Live programming. Bye for now.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Bye.